Good morning once again, YouTube. It's like 4 o'clock. It's like minus 27 out. Holy shit, it's colder than a witch's tit. I got on my toque. I got on 3 hoodies, 2 shirts below that. I got on 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of underwear, and 2 pairs of socks. Damn, it's cold. Now listen, today we're going to talk about PTSD. I got a book for you to check out, some music for you to check out, but it is way too cold for me to be running this video here in my garage. Plus the backdrop isn't all that appealing, so we're going to go in my house. I'm going to kick up a fire, and we'll delve into the world of mental health, folks. So hold on to your tukjangi, because we're going in. Hey everybody, welcome back. We got in, we got settled, we got the fire going, and I got my buddy with me, Ruckus. Now, Ruckus, I don't know, he's a little camera shy today. Hey buddy. Yeah, no, Ruckus is kind of like my go-to guy. It's very difficult for me to get out of my house, but if I do get out of the house, this guy comes with me. He goes everywhere with me. He gets me kicked out of liquor stores, you name it, but he is coming with me. So you'll probably see him throughout a lot of my videos. You'll probably catch him throughout most of this video today. So this is Ruckus. Ruckus, that's everybody. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just get right into this. We're going to talk about PTSD today. You're going to learn about what it actually is, like what causes it. You're going to learn about signs and symptoms to look for in somebody and in yourself. We're going to talk about a book that deals with PTSD, and there's a couple tunes I'd like you to check out, a couple songs I want you to listen to as well. I'll put the links for those down below. So the first thing you need in order to sort of be qualified to have PTSD is that you need to have been exposed to what they call a stressor. Okay, now this is the sort of hard stuff that you go through. It can be witnessed, you can directly experience it, or you could indirectly experience it. That would be cases of like first responders. Maybe you didn't see the car crash, maybe you weren't in the car crash, but you roll up on it and you've got to put all the pieces back together again. Okay, so that stressor, it doesn't need to be you directly experiencing it, like I said. And in fact, in 2013, the DSM, when the DSM-5 came out, they changed some of the criteria, and they said that it doesn't necessarily have to happen to you. Maybe it just has to happen to someone who is close to you. Okay, so again, the first thing, you need a stressor, which is basically your traumatic event. Okay, the next thing that the DSM-5 is going to talk about is the intrusion symptoms. Okay, what they're talking about by intrusion symptoms are things like thoughts you can't shut off, like this stuff is running over in your mind all day, all night. You can't sleep because of it. It's intrusive. Everything in your life is entangled with these thoughts. You cannot get away from it. Okay, so that's one of the intrusive symptoms. Nightmares, we talked about that. It could be flashbacks, almost like you're reliving the incident again and again and again. It's painful, okay, and it happens. Emotional distress after exposure to traumatic reminders. What does this mean? Okay, what they're talking about are triggers. Okay, so you're exposed to something similar to what the traumatic event was like, or some sort of key similar aspect of the traumatic event that you went through. You may experience it again, and then all of a sudden it triggers your memories to go back to the traumatic event, and then you'll start dealing with flashbacks, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's another intrusive symptom. And you'll get a physical response as well sometimes to this type of stressor. You know, as we're talking about something being similar to what happened in the very traumatic event. So now you might be getting physical reactions to this. You could be profusely sweating, you could be shaking, you know, you could lose control of your bowels, you may have to vomit, who knows, but you're gonna get some type of physical response. Now the next thing we'll talk about is avoidance, all right? You're gonna do things that avoid having to deal with thoughts of the trauma, and you're going to avoid things, external reminders. Perhaps there's a certain smell, and you'll try to avoid that. You know, barbecued meats, diesel fumes, gunpowder, all that kind of stuff. It sets me off. I know it. I try to avoid it, okay? So you can either have avoiding thoughts and feelings about it, or you can avoid physical reminders about it, okay? Now here's a mouthful for you. This is another thing right off the DSM-5, okay? Negative alterations in cognitions and mood. The hell does that mean? Okay, so what this means is that you're having negative feelings and negative thoughts, okay? Specifically related to the incident. You might not be able to recall key aspects of the traumatic event. Okay, there could be certain key portions that are missing from your memory. Okay, it's all part and parcel of it. It seems weird, it sounds weird, but it does happen. You could have overly negative thoughts about yourself or the world because of this. All right, a lot of people find themselves, you know, blaming themselves for the traumatic events that they went through. You know, you see this a lot with sexual assault victims. Okay. But it's all part and parcel of PTSD. I mean, this is one evil beast, okay? And it is going to infect every part of your life, and I mean it, okay? You'll have a negative affect, okay? Decreased interest in activities. So the things that you used to love to do, man, they just ain't cutting the mustard for you anymore, okay? Maybe, like for me, I love to play guitar, I love to draw, stuff like that. So I would have lost, and I did lose interest in a lot of that stuff because it just didn't matter anymore. And there's times when I feel it still doesn't, okay? And you feel isolated. There's a number of reasons why you're gonna feel alone here, okay? But it's definitely one of the sort of key identifiers here in this portion of the DSM-5 for PTSD. You'll have alterations in arousal and reactivity. What in the hell does that mean again? Okay, you're gonna have changes sort of in your reactions to certain things, and it'll be different from how you were reacting before. You know, you could be irritable or aggressive now, and that could be magnified because of the PTSD. Riskier, destructive behavior. Hypervigilance, so you're constantly moving around, constantly looking around. I know that's one of the ones that I deal with all the time. Difficulty concentrating, all right? Because having PTSD is a little like drinking from a fire hose, okay? You really can't control what the hell is going on and what's coming in. You kind of can't handle it. It's an overload. And so you are unable to focus on other things. Obviously, there's going to be difficulty in sleeping too. And I don't want to forget, but you could have a heightened startle reaction. You know, you might hear a bang, a loud bang. That was something that went on with me again for a while. I don't so much get that anymore, but I would quickly react. You know, either I would try to duck down, I would hit the ground. You know, to me that meant something else entirely when I heard a bang. You know, I wouldn't realize that I was, you know, at home in Canada, somewhere safe, and that isn't a car bomb. It's not somebody trying to shoot me. You know, it took a long time for my mind to relearn how to do certain things. The next thing that the DSM-5 is going to talk about is the duration of these symptoms. Okay, they have to last for at least 1 month. It's not unusual to go through a traumatic event and to go through some of these things that we've talked about, but to have them disappear after a few weeks. I remember once I went to a particularly bad death scene. I was investigating a sudden death, and I walked into the room, and I mean, there was blood and human everywhere. And it took me a good 3 weeks to be able to shake that whole visual. I mean, it was so visceral, the smells. You know, I had on white Adidas shell toe shoes when I went to the scene. Those, what a dumb idea, you know what I mean? But there are things that I will just, you know, never forget from that. But after a couple weeks, like I said, it wasn't as intrusive, you know, and it slowly over time, it went away. Now I have other incidents that I've been through that have, you know, that are still with me to this day. Okay. But let's move on. Those are stories for another day. And here's another one that they call, another one of their criteria. It's functional significance. I mean, I don't know why they don't just word this stuff plainly so that we can all understand it. But anyways, functional significance. And here's what they say about functional significance. Symptoms create distress or functional impairment. Okay, so that means basically that some type of your life, either social, occupational, has been affected by this. Okay, it's been impaired by these other things that we've mentioned before. Okay, now one of the things we have to look at too that they mention is exclusion. And what they're talking about here are symptoms are not due to medication, substance use, or other illness. Okay. There are a number of medications and drugs out there that will mess your shit up. You know, there's no two ways around it. And there are other illnesses that may seem like PTSD, but they're not. In fact, is it, what do they check for? Thyroid. Thyroid can be something that sort of mimics PTSD and can cause PTSD symptoms. Okay, so everything else has to be excluded. All right, as you know, Sherlock Holmes once said, when you've excluded the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Okay, so we have to go through exclusion. Okay, now that's what the DSM-5 says about it. Okay, now we want to talk about things to look for in somebody. You know, we've kind of covered a lot of this stuff, but there could be change in eating habits. You know, that negative effect where, you know, they've just sort of lost interest in everything around. You know, even things including their hygiene. I know when my depression was really bad, and my PTSD was kind of at its worst, my hygiene fell apart. It's gross to say, but I mean, you just don't care. I mean, that's how it goes. My teeth are pretty bad now because of it, but and that again is a story for another day. You know, we talked about eating disorders, changes in appetite. You might see alcohol or substance abuse or increase in alcohol or substance use. Isolation is a big one. They'll start shying away. You know, a lot of times too, sufferers from this can have what's called survivor's guilt. Okay, and when you have something like that, again, you don't want to be around people, you don't feel you're worth anything. You don't feel you should be here. And you wonder why you are. It's very difficult to deal with. But again, that's something to keep in mind. You know, there's all sorts of things that you need to be looking for. But again, just one little thing in particular doesn't mean that somebody has PTSD, okay? It's kind of a combination of things. And something I think that will help you understand what someone living with PTSD is like. I have a book for you to check it out. Here it is. It's by a Canadian by the name of Romeo Delaire. You might remember him from Shake Hands with the Devil. He was our man on the ground in Rwanda when things got really bad out there. So, you know, if you're living with somebody who's got PTSD, read the book. If you know somebody who's got it, you love somebody who's got it, read the book. If you have PTSD, if you're a combat vet, do not read the book. Okay, it's gonna make your shit flare like a hemorrhoid. Trust me, don't read it. I haven't read it and I never will, okay? But my biggest supporter, my wife, my best friend, she has got a hold of this book because it's supposed to be one of the best sources out there of information to help you understand the person in your life who's got PTSD. Now, like I said, for those of you who do have PTSD, this isn't something that is just, you know, combat vets and first responders. Maybe you did some time on the inside, you know, you were in prison, you were in jail, a victim of a violent crime, bad car accident. Maybe you knew somebody who was a victim of a violent crime. Okay? These are all contributing factors to PTSD. And it is one insidious beast. All right, it is going to affect everything in your life. Like I said, from your hygiene, your sex life, your sleep, your physical appearance, all kinds of stuff. But I think that's about all we're going to talk about today. I think tomorrow we'll talk about coping mechanisms. If Ruckus wants to hang out, we'll bring him by again. But I think that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. It's a little bit about my PTSD so you understand a little bit more about it. And we'll talk about how I cope with it. So anyways, I just want to thank everybody who's tuned in to watch this. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. You know, I've got my email up in the description. Hit me up in the comment section. You know, share your stories with me. You got questions, ask me. I'm here because, you know, I'm at a point in my therapy and dealing with this that I can kind of talk about it a bit now. And I really appreciate the opportunity to help. So if you're going through stuff, by all means, hit me up. I'll put a link in the comments as well for something called 7 Cups of Tea. I know not everybody has access to free mental health care, but check it out. This is an app you can put on your phone and it'll give you direct access to some type of counseling or help for free, okay? It's called 7 Cups of Tea. Check it out. All right. Anyways, until we see each other tomorrow, I want you all to take care, be good, be safe. Peace.